This is my recording of the, for the project that we did for MVC Sinatra. I'm going to close a couple of windows here. I'm trying to give my computer as little open as possible because the recording device seems to slow it down significantly. In the world of do what you love, I decided to write a program that would make a virtual wine cellar for a variety of users. Once you log in, if you are a user, you can add bottles to your inventory. So here is the overall structure of the project. It's an MVC project, so we have controllers, models, and views. And basically, we also have a top-level index that is where you start out. And this is a picture of what the top-level index looks like. I tried to make sure that everything linked in an appropriate way to everything else so that you didn't have to know the things to type into the command line. You would just, not the command line, the address line, because you would just link to it. So in this first overall index, you can either sign up for a new account, log in, or see your cellar if you've already logged in and for some reason you've ended up back at the main menu. That index is here, and all the ERB files use the overall layout, which is here, yielding to them. And I also broke out the controllers into 3 different controllers: bottles, owners, and wineries, because I liked having it not all in one long application controller. My models include the bottles, the owners, the wineries, and a joins table winery bottle. That is true because at the bottle level, a bottle belongs to an owner and belongs to a winery. An owner has many bottles and has many wineries through winery bottles, and also has a secure password. And winery has many bottles. And in the owner's controller, which is sort of the heart of the whole thing, what the owner can do is they can sign up, log in or log out. There are helper methods which allow you to check to see if they are logged in or if they're the current user or who the current user is. And each of these go to a view, and they also allow for error handling to the extent that if, for example, an owner, if you try to sign up but you're already logged in, then it goes back to your cellar, and you either have to log out and log in as somebody else, or you're going to be at your cellar because you were already logged in. Also, if you give a blank name or password, that's also going to send you back to sign up. In that case, it's going to set you to sign up because you've done something wrong. If we look over here and we say, well, what would happen if we sign up? You just click the link and it should take you right to sign up. My system is a tiny bit slow because the recording seems to really slow it down. But let's hope it comes up. There it is. So you can add a name like Jane Doe. And I've been using the first name as the password just to make myself remember everybody, and they can sign up. Now, once the handler the controller for the owner, once you've signed up, sends you to your seller, which is really an index page. And rather than calling it index within the world of owners, I called it seller, because that's basically what you wanted to do, was see a list of all the inventory in your seller. Let's see what's happening over here. There it is. Now, once you're in your virtual wine cellar, Jane just signed up, so she has no bottles. She could either add a bottle, she could see all the bottles in her cellar, which is irrelevant here because she doesn't have any. She could see all the bottles in the overall wine cellar universe, because while you're not allowed to edit them, you are able to see everybody else's wine, which is kind of nice because you can also see the price they paid. So you might be able to decide that you wanted to A, buy it from them, or B, you'd know what to pay for it yourself. And you can see all the wineries in the universe. So if we look at all the wineries, because I have run this already some and built a bit of a database up, let's look at all the bottles in the current wine cellar universe. There they are. Now I can either look at one more by just drilling on it as a link, or I can return back to my cellar. When you try to drill in on one, it knows that you're not the owner of it, because remember, Jane Doe doesn't own any bottles yet. And so within the edit the bottles, so within bottle editing, now we're in the bottles controller. If you try to edit it, the bottle owner ID has to equal the current user ID. Otherwise, it won't let you edit it. So let's just go back to the cellar, and because we're kind of starting from the beginning here. So we're going to click back and run back to its cellar. And this is all very, very fast when this screen recording thing isn't running, but it for some reason really slows everything down. And now let's add a new bottle. And so one thing that I wanted to do was make you be able to choose from existing wine types and existing wineries, in case you happen to buy one that add one that already exists, so that you don't have to type it in. So for instance, I could say, well, the one that I have is a Chablis, and 4 Gals in Maine made it, and this one was in 2012, and I paid a stunningly cheap $18 for my wine, and now I'm going to submit it. And now, at last, Jane has wine in her cellar, which hopefully is going to come up here any minute now. Yep. Okay. Sure wish you could see this without it being recording, but that should send her back to her cellar. Let's talk about it over here. If we just talk more, then you can just, there it is. So now she has 4 Gals in Maine, Chablis, 2012, $18. So given how slow that is, let's talk more than show. So from an owner's standpoint, even showing is slow. When they see their cellar, whenever they want to look at their cellar, they're going to get all the bottles of the current user. And that will send it to owner's cellar view. It'll render the owner's cellar view. And if you're not logged in, it's going to render the main index page, send you back to either sign up or log in. As I said before, there's an owner's sign up, and an owner's login, and an owner's logout. Look, that pretty much covers everything, and in general, I had it send you back to wherever it seemed you should be if you did the wrong thing. So if, for instance, within one thing that I added that was a little different in owners was something called sort. It's sort of the show equivalent, but what it allowed you to do was look at all the bottles of a given type or of a given inventory. So in get owners slash sort, what I do is I take all the unique wine types, bottles that have all unique wine types, and bottles that have all unique wineries, and render owner sort view. So the seller view we already talked about. The create owner is the sign up. The login is the login. And in the sort view, when it's rendered, what it does is it asks you to pick. Do you want to see a winery or do you want to see a wine type? And then if so, it goes back to post owners by. So coming back to the owner's controller, post owners by checks to see, did you pick a winery ID or a wine type, and whichever one you did, it gets the bottles, all the bottles that have that winery ID or all the bottles that have that wine type within your cellar, your wine cellar. So that I thought was a very useful ability, because you might want to see all the Sauvignon Blancs that you have available, and you might want to be able to look at them to decide which one you'll drink next. Or you might want to see all the ones you have from a given winery to know that, gee, I'm long a lot of those, and I'd really like to diversify by buying some from other wineries. And now, the bottles controller, what the bottles controller does is it allows you to enter a new bottle, and in that case you hit get bottles new, that route, and it renders bottles new, having selected again all the unique wineries and all the bottle and all the unique types. The reason being that I didn't want people to have to continually enter things. So I wanted to give them the radio buttons that allowed them to either enter a new one or select one that existed. I think if I come back to this one last time and try, if I return to my cellar, hopefully it'll go quickly. I am going to try to log out and log in as someone else, because I have more bottles in other people, as other people. But coming back over here while we're up, there it is. I will log out, which will send me back to my main. Well, I managed to put in 2 by hitting it so many times, which is a legitimate idea that I thought about. Should you have only one bottle, but you might have more than one bottle of a given wine, so it makes sense that you would be able to enter the same one twice. Now, if I log in as me, I have more bottles of wine. Where is it? Okay, there it is. Here we go. Logging in, which it should automatically send me to my cellar so that I see what I currently have in my inventory, in my cellar. While we're waiting for that, we'll go back over here. Now, within bottles, there we go. As you can see, I added a lot. I made them all up. And, but if I add a bottle, instead of having to add in any particular type of, any new any wine type or any winery that already existed. I instead made it you able to check. I mean to use a radio button to select one that already existed, and then I can add the year, the price, and submit it, and it just goes right in. Or I can add a new wine type because Cabernet Sauvignon isn't in there, and or add a new winery that I haven't got yet in the universe. But this shows everyone's wineries and everyone's wine types, so that multiple people aren't having to continually add it in, which I thought was a good thing. And the validity checking that I did, I checked to make sure. I put it into the helper section, and it was called check validity. It checks to make sure that there is a wine type, and you've either selected one or you've entered one. It has to be something, and otherwise it raises an argument error that you must choose one or enter one. The same thing with the winery name. You got to choose one or enter one. Then in the year, it double checks that it's got to be 4 digits and start with 19 or 20, and it checks the number to make sure that it's all decimals, all digits, and has either no decimal places or 2 decimal places, and raises an error if it's anything but that. And in the bottles world, you can make a new bottle. You can you can view a given bottle by clicking on its link, and you can edit a bottle or delete a bottle. The wineries have less things that they can do. You can look at a winery, but you can't edit the winery. You can look at a single winery. You can look at all the wineries, but you cannot really manipulate them. And the reason for that, again, is that multiple people can use wineries. So I don't want you to be able, you want to be able to see them and know about them, but not edit them. And so that's the winery controllers. As far as the views go, wineries also have the least views. You can look at the index of them. Let me see, am I really working? Is this really working? Yes, it is. No. I'm not looking at the, there we go. Now I'm in the right one. You can either look at an index of them or look at just one of them. And so that was really the only thing I added in terms of winery. I did think about one potential thing to do would be to add into the winery section to be able to add, things that basically the winery itself would be able to log in and have control of the winery side of things and be able to update the name and put in an address and, who knows, order forms. Could be all kinds of cool stuff you could do with that. But right now I didn't add a lot to that. And that's really it. I think it's a fairly straightforward project, but it was actually pretty fun to do, and I hope it's okay.